Mission on it, Charles, Brother Barron. You know, somebody asked Malcolm X, said, Brother Minister Malcolm X, what do you mean by black nationalism? And to just capitalize what you said, he said, you must control the land, labor, and resources, the economic, politics, and culture where you live. We control none of that where we live. And that just capsulizes it. And when we think of it, here we're expected to spend $2 trillion this year in consumer dollars. We control no land, we control no labor, we control no resources. We do not control the economics, the politics, or the culture where we live. All right. And then we by definition, we can't even call where we live communities. Because communities presuppose that you control those things.
Absolutely.
That's right.
We are neighborhoods in capitalist and colonial communities.
Go ahead now. That's what I'm talking about.
And so if we clear on these little definitions, it'll help us to see what the problem is.
That's right.
And we won't get blinded by black colonialists or neo-colonialists. Because they're blinded us in New York State. They're blinded. Because you look at, oh my God, every office that we thought that could be held, that would be the cause for change for better, is now being held by people that look just like us, and things are getting worse for us.
They're getting worse.
So why aren't we more organized as a people? We're not more organized as a people because we have missing from our lives the 6 pillars of empowerment. Spirituality, we're disconnected internally and externally. Right culture, we have no collective system for our collective development. Education, we don't know ourselves or our enemy. Economics, we don't own or control enough, but collectively we have more than enough that we could control. Socioeconomics, where we live doesn't work for our greatest benefit. And politics, everything that happens to us and or against us is someone's public policy. We lose because we've been conditioned to lose. While we've been conditioned to lose, they are programmed to win.
I will skip the part where I brag for 3 minutes about how great and cool I am, seeing as we are all qualified young men of skill and character. People like that stuff.
Sounds good, yeah.
People like that stuff a lot.
Some people say they're a sports junkie. I say I'm a politics junkie.
The harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph.
I'm playing this like a game. I would like very much to win. I love it, boys. I love it. Where you from?
I come from a very modest family.
I'm on the course to be the first one to graduate from high school.
I'm a progressive person, and I'm in a room full of mostly conservative people.
Our masculinity shall not be infringed.
I've never seen so many white people ever. I feel like everybody has a secret underlying need for bipartisanship.
A message of unity as good as it sounds, not winning anyone any election.
Primary polls are now open.
Get yourselves ready for a turbulent election.
Whatever happens, dude, best of luck.
You win, I support you fully.
My name is Steven Garza, and I'm running for governor.
Let's get the applause because...
As to the political views voiced in my speech, sometimes you gotta say what you gotta say in an attempt to win.
I think he's a fantastic politician. But I don't think a fantastic politician is a compliment either.
We're gonna do shock and awe. It's gonna be awesome. I want y'all to take out your phones and go on Instagram. Everyone, come on.
Oh my God.
Will we show the world what patriots are made of? That when things get tough, we pull ourselves by our bootstraps. One nation, under God, lovers of the Constitution of the United States of America.
That's politics, I think. That's politics.
But we have to understand that while we are programmed to lose, they are programmed to win. And it starts at a very age for those that are selected to do so. Every single year, over 5,000 young men and 5,000 young women are picked from high schools across the country to go to these political camps to learn how to run cities. And here our people are not even wanting to register to vote, and they're being trained to run cities. And this is not a new thing. This has been happening since 1934 in every state. 5,000 boys to one camp and 5,000 girls to another camp. And they are constantly weeded out and then trained to run cities which has our people in them. We lose because we're programmed to lose. And they win because they're programmed to win. And of course, they have the systems behind them to support that programming. Project 2025 moving forward, everything you're about to see, at one point, all of this stuff was spoken of as if it was being prepared to take place. Now it's currently active. So everything you're about to see, when I used to give this presentation, this part of the presentation, I was talking about future stuff that they wanted to do. I've now changed the verbiage a bit because all of this stuff is now active. This is the country that we're living in right now moving forward. They are eliminating and are relocating the jobs of 50,000 federal employees. They are reversing 100 years of anti-discrimination progress. They are eliminating the Department of Education and redirecting billions from the public education system to private and nonprofit educational systems. They are eliminating billions from federal food programs for the young, elderly, and poor. They are imposing additional work requirements for Medicaid recipients. They are criminalizing abortion, including the abortion pill. They're revoking LGBTQ plus protections and criminalizing discussions of LGBTQ issues. They are reversing student debt relief efforts. They are reclassifying 500,000 dreamers to be illegal so they can deport them, but not before they put them in a prison by which they're going to make money off of. They're prosecuting institutions right now that have DEI programs. They're gutting environmental regulations and clean energy initiatives. They're censoring the internet and criminalizing pornography. They're deploying the military for domestic law enforcement and illegal immigrant roundups. They are creating a wider gap between the haves and the have-nots, and they're making it damn near impossible to close that gap. They are quote-unquote Christianizing America, and we'll get to that part later. They are creating chaos on purpose. What was once past tense is now the reality. And we have to understand that in the midst of the chaos that they are creating on purpose right now in real time, there is opportunity. But there's only opportunity in that chaos for those that see it and those that are ready to take advantage of it. Our roles, those of us that see it, want to be a part of it, and are willing to put in the time, energy, effort, and the work, we have to reset the Black community. Reset it for what? Reset it for a new kind of revolutionary move so we can put ourselves in a position to win. How we operate in our own spaces, especially if we're the majority in those spaces, that absolutely must change, because if we don't change how we operate in our own spaces, other people will run those spaces and we will continue to lose. And this time around, if we don't put something in place that's going to protect our people, allow our people to breathe, allow our people to think, and allow us to develop our own leadership teams so that we can run that space, if we don't get this thing right in the next 4 or 5 years, it's going to be checkmate for Black people, because it's going to be a permanent caste system in this country that exists in other countries. And if you're born poor, you're going to die poor, because the opportunities to get out of that caste system won't exist. We have to immediately create spiritual and cultural classes and training. We have to have our own federalist society. And what that is a plan to ensure that persons who are picked to be judges will judge the way that we need them to judge, as opposed to what someone else needs them, a way that someone else needs them to judge. We got to have our own grassroots think tanks. We have to have our own political candidates that we run for local office. We have to have a Saturday school for our youth, and not only get them to catch up where they're so far behind, but train them to be leaders and operators and employees and employers in the spaces that we run and control. We got to have local communiversities, a local community university by which the community comes out to teach and train the people on what they need to know so we can continue moving forward. We have to have mandatory local business partnerships. If there is a business in a predominantly Black space, we have to have a relationship with them by which they must give something back because the community is dying. And if we don't force their hand to make them give something back, then we have to starve them out of the community because they are economic and financial predators. We have to have a farmers market and food systems economics network that operates locally, connected to a national. We got to have local community investment partnerships by which if a melanated African descendant wants to do a thing in the spaces where we live and where we're the majority, we have to have the resources to invest in that local melanated person's thing. We have to have conscious community centers, institutions that we control so that all this training, all of this planning, all of this organizing can take place because it's our institution. We have to have communities by which our people can be safe in these spaces that are predominantly Black. And we got to have credit unions for a lot of reasons, but most importantly, we got to be able to control the millions and billions that flow through our communities and not allow economic and financial predators to always prey upon our people, but stop that because we have mechanisms in place to do so. From the intentional chaos that they are now creating and they're going to continue to create from Project 2025, we can emerge anew, but only if those of us that see it are ready, willing, and able to put in the time, energy, and effort to make it so. And this is why the 6 pillars are so important. The 6 pillars are so important because we've never had these pillars working for us at the same time in concert in local spaces where we're not only the majority, but we're maneuvering ourselves to run those spaces. And what we're saying is that we have, right now, we have mechanisms in place from the persons, the leadership, the expertise, the knowledge to implement these 6 pillars. And we're trying to find people who are ready to plug them into. We're not looking for a lot of people. It's not going to be everybody. It's never been everybody. We're looking for the right people to help us implement the 6 pillars so we can turn this thing around and put ourselves in a position by which we are not only surviving, but we're winning and we're thriving. Spirituality, emotional emancipation circles. 3 Mondays out of every month, we come together to talk about how we can strengthen our spirituality and push back against the lie that we're inferior to anybody. We have spiritual development outreach teams by which we actively go into communities and let them know what African spirituality is all about and how the people in the community can use that. We have to be intentional about bringing our people into a spiritual space so that they can better understand and learn. Just like the Jehovah's Witnesses go door to door, just like when I was growing up, I'm from South Carolina, it was not uncommon for at least 2 or 3 times a year for there to be a Christian revival event at the local fairground. We have to be intentional like that when it comes to African spirituality so we can put our people in a position to win. And of course, we have to have Saturday outreach and education by which we're not only educating our people about spirituality, but we're going into the community to introduce our people to African spirituality. We got to have a culture that supports our forward progress. We have to have a culture that is the exact opposite of the nigger factory that's been created by America. And of course, you can't have a culture without being intentional with weekly activities, which we will get to in a minute. The Grow for Care Alliance is about connecting the 170 currently active nonprofits that are doing some very seriously good work in and for the community. We want to be the bridge between the two so that people will know that these nonprofits exist and they can get the help that they need. And we want to make sure that we have a youth program, just like the video we just saw that's been going on for well over 90 years. We have to have a program that allows us to train our children to run cities as we deem appropriate and necessary. But of course, to do that, again, it has to be connected to a culture that's about that, that's only preceded by spirituality. Education, we have to have an educational system that we can own, that we control, that we implement as we see fit. As of right now, we have bi-weekly African history classes, and we want to connect with that every other week. 1 week is African history. Next week is a movie or documentary viewing and discussion. Third week, African history. Fourth week, documentary review, movie review and discussion. And we want to do these things so that we're constantly trying to not only make our people aware of what's going on in the spaces where we live, but how this system actually works, as well as what it means to be a melanated African descendant in this country and on this planet, which of course we cannot properly do if we don't understand our history and where we come from. That was one of the main points with the Holocaust conference this past weekend. Remember, realize, rebuild. Remember what happened, realize what's still happening so that we can rebuild. And of course, everything that we do has to be connected to a youth program so that we can raise a new generation of leaders that look like us, that understands from day one that everything is about power, everything is about control, and everything is about building and expanding that power base. Economics, we have to have, again, local business partnerships with the businesses that currently exist, force them to give something back as much as we can, and if they disagree to do so, we starve them out of the community by redirecting that Black foot traffic. Most people understand how much money flows, even if they don't understand the exact amount. They understand that money flows through the community and other people take it. But what we don't think about is that only happens because we give the money. If we pool our resources on a very small level, on a very small scale, we can create competing businesses, redirect that Black foot traffic, and then starve these predators out of the community, which they have to go anyway. But that is simply a process that we can implement starting next week, that we're going to implement starting next week moving forward. Growth for Care memberships, our membership fee is $65 a year. Some of you guys are already members, but we want to make sure that we're always moving, we're always operating, we're always bringing people into the fold so that they can become members of what we're doing, because of course membership allows us to continue to move and have more people that are willing to work with us. Tahimba is the name of our youth program. Tahimba is an African word, a Kiswahili term that means we stand as a nation. Tahimba Marketplace is our current operation to create our own goodwill. If you don't know, most of us know what goodwill is. Most of us don't know how much money goodwill is worth. Goodwill is worth over $7.2 billion. And all they do is take in donations, determine which donations they want to keep, and then put them in a storefront and then sell them for a profit. We've been doing the exact same thing for the last 2 years, of course, on a smaller scale, but we want to penetrate this billion-dollar market and use those resources to put ourselves in a better position so that we can currently continue to move forward. Socionomics, we will implement getting more of the services that are currently operating in the greater Houston area, getting more of those services to work for us because we have our own candidates running for office and winning, which will bring more of those services to the community. And we want to do that by our own political party paid political advocates for independent democracy and our campaign to get 500 people active, which we'll get into later, in the community working on behalf of paid, not just locally, but statewide. And then the last one is politics, which is the same thing. Paid political advocates for independent democracy, our own political party, and our 5,000 to get 500 people campaign, which I'll get into later. So these are the avenues by which starting next week, and all of this stuff has already been moving over the past few months, if not few years, but now we're at a point where we're ready to start actively implementing and engaging in the community. Project 2025 didn't really speed it up, our wanting to do this stuff, but it most certainly let us know that the time we thought we had, we no longer have. When I started Black Gold Nation in 2017, I was saying when I was doing my presentations, we have about 8 or 9 years in 2017. Now we're probably down to maybe 3 to 5 years. 3 to 5 years to put something in place, have it operate on automatic pilot that's again going to protect our people, educate our people, allow our people to breathe, and give us some semblance of community and nation building because we are owning and controlling and running those spaces. This is an example of the kind of money that flows through our communities and what that looks like. We didn't complete this research, but we did enough of it to realize that there's a lot of money that flows through predominantly Black spaces. And this is from the greater Houston area. We took a Black business, at that time it was a Black business, it's not there anymore, in Sunnyside. And we did research on all the businesses within a 5-mile radius of that Black business that was right there in Sunnyside. And we only got through like 47% of the research. But when we looked at all the numbers and how much money these businesses were making, and all of this information is public, we identified over $1.3 billion that was flowing through this predominantly Black space in Sunnyside, Houston, Texas. 1.3 billion, 1 5-mile radius. And there are 13 such 5-mile radiuses of predominantly Black spaces in Houston, Texas. This is the kind of research that we absolutely must do, and we must understand and then go after. And as we are going after these businesses to get them to give something back, we have to, of course, simultaneously be creating businesses so that if a business is not willing to support the community for the time being, because they all got to go, but that's going to take time. If they're not willing to support the business, support the community for the time being, we have to get them out of the community as rapidly as possible. And the money is there. We simply haven't been mobilized and organized enough to go get the money. Another excellent example of how much money is available and how easy it is to get that money. What if one Black person asked another Black person to be a part of a Black thing, and then that Black person got that other Black person to give a very small amount of money? The numbers you're about to see are real. I've crunched them I don't know how many times, and I look at them. I usually look at them once a week, but it's been a minute, but the math is still the math. So let's say if Brother Tamani, I say I want Black people to be better, I want Black people to do better, but I realize I can't do it on my own. So I go out and I get Brother Craig Lee on a Monday. At the end of Monday, you got 2 brothers who say they want to see Black people do better, who want to be involved with the Black thing. But we realize it's only 2 of us, so we got to go get more Black people. So on Tuesday, I go out and get Brother LeVar. Brother Craig goes out and gets Sister Cecilia on Tuesday. By the end of the day, we got 4 Black people. Everybody says they want to see Black people do better. But we realize there's only 4 of us. We got to go get more Black people. So on Wednesday, each one of us goes to get 1 more person. That's 8. On Thursday, each one of us goes to get 1 more person. That's 16. Friday, we do the same thing. Saturday, we do the same thing. On Sunday, we do the same thing. 7 days, 1 getting 128 Black people. If all of those persons gave $5 per month, at the end of 30 days, we'd have $32.2 billion. $5 a month, $60 a year, 1 getting 1 for 30 days. I will show you the spreadsheet if you do not believe me. And this is 1 month. Of course, it'll never work out this way, but that's not the point. The point is that if we get enough people on board to simply give a small membership fee, while those of us who are ready to do the work gets about the business of the work, not only will we have more than enough money to do what we need to do, but we'll have the people on board to do so. And this is what the 6 pillars is designed to allow us to do. Plug into a proven program and/or system that will allow those that are ready to move and to do. One thing that we constantly get wrong is that we try to build our houses from the roof down. We don't understand that if the foundation isn't a geographic space whereby we have power, whatever we're trying to do is going to fail because we don't have local power in our control. And we've always, as a people, since we've been here, tried to go too far, too fast, too many members, too many chapters, too many locations, and we don't even control the local spaces where we live. We have to reverse that. But to reverse that, you have to have a few things in place. And what we're saying is that those few things are the 6 pillars of empowerment. The grassroots, Black people from the very bottom, the grassroots must lead, because that is not only where the majority of our people are, but that's where we're going to find the people that have the most concern for the people, because they either still live among the grassroots, or they still identify as a person from the grassroots. We must continually seek to enhance our power position of our communities by creating a nation within a nation, a collection of communities that are joined with the same leadership, the same understanding, the same approach, the same strategy, the same goals, coupled with a master plan to forever expand upon that power position. Because at the end of the day, every single thing we do is about building and maintaining power.
I say Black people and Black Christian nationalism says we have to approach the whole problem in terms of power. Black people have to begin to build institutions. Every institution that exists belongs to white people, was built by white people, and serves the interests of white people. And for Black organizational leaders to be sitting there talking as though they have power, as though they represent something. We want to represent everybody. We want to bring everybody together. We want to build a beautiful America. We don't want to build no kind of beautiful America. We want power for Black people, and we're going to have to fight for it. It demands confrontation and the willingness to do anything necessary to get power. And we got to take it away from white people. White people are not going to give Black people anything. Politically, economically, or any other way, Black man is no longer necessary in America. And the white man is hell-bent on genocide. So we have to understand we've got to build institutional power to deal with the white man who is deciding to destroy.
We got to build power now, immediately, for ourselves into eternity. That was Reverend Albert B. Clegg. That was a speech he gave in 1972. And obviously, that speech can be given now. Why? Because we still have yet to realize that we got to have our own institutions. We got to have our own local power. And we can't afford to continue to rely on white people for anything. Democrat, Republican, two wings of the same bird. We got to have our own parties that will allow us, that will allow us to do our own thing as we see fit with a Black agenda. I mentioned earlier, empowering 5,000 to get 500. That is what this is. If you came to the conference, you should have received a hard copy of this manual that I wrote with a lot of Brother Craig's, not really consultation, but he has taught me a lot of things along the way. So when I started Black Gold Nation in 2017, I had a certain understanding of things that is still relevant, but per Brother Craig, I understand that my approach was never going to work because I was trying to build a house from the roof down. I was not focusing on the local, so I had to flip a few things, unlearn and relearn a few things so that I can make sure that I'm doing this thing the right way. So if you came to the conference, you should have gotten a hard copy of this. And if you didn't get it, you can go to the website, growforcare.org, and download it. When I was doing presentations, if your phone isn't muted, if you can mute that, please, because background noise is very difficult to speak over. And I want to make sure that everybody can hear. So if you don't have your computer muted or your phone or whatever you're using, please mute that. If you didn't get the hard copy, you can download it. And when I was doing presentations, I started doing presentations about Project 2025 right around February or March of last year. And I didn't see other people talking about it until June or July during the summer. And as more people began to talk about it, that was good. Some of them were Black. That was great. But nobody was giving solutions. So me being me, I wrote this manual to give solutions. And of course, those solutions are part of what we're talking about doing right now. Empowering 5,000 to get 500 is about empowering 5,000 Black people to understand what this thing is about. And empowering means that we give them this free booklet that's already online, they can already download. And we want to give 5,000 people this booklet in hopes that we can get 10%, 500, to not only read it, but understand it and say, okay, I get it. What do you need me to do? Empowering 5,000 to get 500 will put us in a position to better mobilize and organize in this fourth largest city in the country as we continue to identify predominantly Black spaces in Texas to duplicate what we do here. District D is larger than over 100 cities in this country. And we have people that we're constantly looking for, constantly identifying, constantly training to run for office for districts that are predominantly Black, of which District D is one of them. So we have to create the change that we want to need because nobody's going to do that. Again, this booklet is already on the website. It's downloaded. It's free. You can download it for free. It's a 44-page guide with over 30 grassroots solutions, all of which are a part of what we've been doing and what we're about to do and what we need to do moving forward. And of course, if you want to know what that is, you can just go download it. Or if you already have a copy, just read it. There's excuse me. There is revenue to be generated for you personally, as well as for the movement as we seek to bring more people on board into this thing. The more people we get to download and start going through the booklet, the greater our chances of getting 10% to actually do something, because this is most certainly a team sport. And if you don't have a team, if you don't have a squad, if you don't have a crew, if you don't have a clan, if you don't have a tribe, you're going to lose. Because our enemies roll as a team. They'll put their stuff aside, just like they did with Project 2025. They put their differences aside to make sure that their guy, this time it was Donald Trump. The first time it was Ronald Reagan. And before it was Ronald Reagan, it was called something else. And it was whatever white guy they were trying to get in office. They put their differences aside to ensure their guy gets in office, to ensure that they can do their thing. We've never had that successfully, which is what we're about to implement. And of course, to do that, you have to have people who understand what's what and are willing to get on board with a strategy, a mission to move forward. The way that we're going to organize this thing so that we can understand that the spaces where we live, especially if it's predominantly Black, can most certainly be ran as a small country if we understand how to do that, which again is why the 6 pillars and the training that we have attached to it is so important. What we're looking for eventually is Black gold ambassadors, individuals to run a municipality. I'm sorry, the largest voting space of a municipality, be that a village, a town, a small or mid-sized city. In Houston, I think in every country, in every state in this country, we have districts. And I think Louisiana is the only state that has parishes. But a Black gold ambassador will run the largest voting space, be that a district in this city or other cities, or a parish in Louisiana. The ambassador will have several zip code captains under him or her that's working to organize that zip code. That zip code captain will have several precinct lieutenants under him or her organizing that precinct, because several precincts can be in a zip code. And that precinct lieutenant will have several street professionals organizing that street. We have to seriously take a look at our organization and understand that we're not organized well enough to get anything to happen. We don't have the luxury of doing any one thing at a time. That is why having people like Brother Kerry, who presented on last Saturday, is so important, because he understands the agricultural space. That's why having a Brother Craig is so important, because he understands the political space. That's why having a Sister Amanda, who gave the opening prayer, bringing us back to the center after Prayer View did their thing, and who closed us out. We have to have people like her and Sister Offset, because they understand the spiritual space. This thing is too large for any one person to do. And that's why we have think tanks. The more I learned about Project 2025, the more I realized that the same way they have think tanks, we have to have think tanks. But those think tanks have to be driven by an understanding and a philosophy that's about Black survival and Black power. And again, that will be the 6 pillars of empowerment. So everything that we need, we have, but we don't know because we don't talk to each other. And what we're focused on doing via the Black Gold Nation and the organizations and entities that are attached to us, we want to make sure that we put those persons that are ready, willing, and able in a position to win. So we want to mobilize and organize our people to win local elections and then run those local spaces by which where they've won that election, run those spaces like small countries. Because as we do that, train people that look like us, that think like us, train Black people to win these local elections, and then run those spaces like small countries. As those spaces become connected again with the same leadership strategy, tenets, practices, goals, then you are in essence creating a nation within this nation, which again is something that we've never had. We've had bits and pieces of it, but never as a collective large enough to create the kind of change that we need. The next steps is to accept the offer to become a member and then activate your membership by getting involved. If you haven't already done so, become a member of the Grow for Care Alliance so we can get moving because we're already hundreds of years behind. Download the booklet and the solutions guide on the website, growforcare.org. Again, it's free, it's there. If you have questions about anything, if you disagree with a thing, if you think the 6 pillars are incomplete or whatever, I am wide open for conversation. Brother Craig is wide open for conversation. I personally feel that I am well equipped to move forward and bring our people into something that can give us the power and protection and productivity that we need. And I believe that because of my time spent in the shrines of the Black Madonna for over 20 years with Brother Reverend Clay, the one that you just saw who spoke briefly, and what Brother Craig has taught me with the 6 pillars. In the shrine, we got a lot of things right, but we also made some mistakes. And one of those mistakes was not bringing other like-minded people who have something to offer to the table to create an alliance. The Grow for Care Alliance, Black Gold Nation, 3 Levels Entertainment, it's about bringing like minds together. And that's why we have national leadership. That's why we have these think tanks that are currently active in thinking about different aspects. If Project 2025 is about reorganizing 15 national departments in this country to give Trump or whomever the Republican president is power and authority over those 15 areas, then we Black people got to have 15 think tanks that are thinking about if these 15 areas are no longer there, what are we going to do? Or if these 15 spaces are still there and we can use them to our benefit, how do we do that? We have to always have people who are actively thinking, who may not want to get involved, who might not have time to get involved, but they're still willing to lend their intellectual capital to the forward progress and survival of our people. And if we don't have that, working in concert with people who are on the ground doing the work, we're going to lose, period. So we have to work collectively with those that are ready, willing, and able to implement solutions that are going to work. If you start reading the guide and we want you to bring more people to the guide because we got to hit these numbers of people getting active. Once you complete the guide, make your list of everybody that you know. Try and get everybody that you know to download the booklet and read it because there's a lot of information in there. And all of this, again, the chaos that they're going to create is going to be tremendous. Well, there is tremendous opportunity for us with some of the things that they want to do for themselves can benefit us. And some of the things that they're doing because they don't care about us can also benefit us if we're ready. The creators of Project 2025 will never stop seeking power because it's their nature. Just like the lion wakes up every morning, a lion realizing I got to catch me a gazelle, I got to eat, otherwise I'm going to go hungry and my family might starve. And the gazelle wakes up realizing if I don't run as fast as I can, I'm going to get eaten and I won't be a part of my family. We got to understand that another group's nature is not going to change because we want it to. We have to understand that our nature doesn't necessarily have to change, but we have to understand the reality and understand who and what we are and activate our nature as natural leaders, builders, and everything else. But of course, you can't do that if you don't have the right people in place to make that so. They will never stop seeking power, which is why we can never stop seeking power. So, the last thing I'm going to share is our weekly schedule of 2025 moving forward, because all of this is a lot of talk. And if you're not plugged into an organized way to make it active and make it real, it's never going to happen. And of course, we're about the activity. This is, I think Brother Kerry showed the same map. If it wasn't the same map, it was one close to it. The majority of our people are in the South. The color dots, the darker the dot, the more Black people live in that space. And the lighter the dot, the less Black people live in that space. Our goal with our own political party is to activate our people where our people already are. And then get those people to understand that we can run this space like our own Wakanda. But to do that, you have to have a certain spiritual connectivity. You have to have a certain cultural development and or impact. You have to have a certain kind of education. You most certainly must understand economics and business. You got to understand that what the municipality brings has to benefit you. So you got to understand socioeconomics and politics so that we can win. All of this stuff, especially now, is wide open because the changes that they're seeking to make for themselves and for their people, those changes can most certainly benefit us, but they will only benefit us if we're ready to take advantage of the opportunities that they're creating for themselves so that we can also win. Excuse me, the weekly schedule for the Grow for Care Alliance and Black Gold Nation moving forward. Every Monday, we've been doing this for, I think it's been at least a year, with this new group, Emotional Emancipation, online via Zoom, 6:30, second, third, and fourth Monday of every month. Tuesday, I'm currently showing, when I talked about everything that's happening, the second to the last bullet point was they want to Christianize America. That might sound like a good thing, but trust me when I tell you that their version of Christianity is not ours. So we've been having a citywide tour of showing bad faith live and online. Every Tuesday at 6:30, I show it online for whomever shows up. And then we have a brief conversation. If you haven't seen it, you need to show up on Tuesday and watch it with us so that you can better understand how this thing works. And the whole point of showing a movie and or a documentary every other Saturday is because there's so much to learn. There's so much to unlearn. There's so much to realize. We got a lot of work to do, and there's a lot of learning that's involved. And one of the easiest ways to do that is by watching a movie and or a documentary. As a matter of fact, I'll be at TSU this Tuesday and Thursday watching Bad Faith with I think a sociology class, because we're gonna cut it in half. Absolutely phenomenal documentary, one of many that we absolutely must watch, and we'll be doing it every Tuesday, probably until mid or late March. Every Wednesday, we're going to have our Grow for Care Alliance phone banking, by which the work that we do on Saturday, we want people to reach out to those persons and reconnect. I'll explain that later. Every Thursday morning, we have Thursday morning breakfast where we come together. We bring subject matter experts from the private and public sector to come out and talk to the community. If you, Sister Cecilia was one of our speakers most recently. I put out flyers every Wednesday. If you've seen it, then that's what that is. And if you are available to be a part of that to help us build it, we most certainly need that. And we're going to have our group meeting on Thursday evening, and that's forthcoming. We haven't started doing that yet. And then Saturday will be the day of activity where we actually get out into the community and start doing stuff on a number of levels to make sure that we can make all this stuff real. There's opportunity, again, in the chaos that they want to create. We have the ability to take advantage of the opportunity. Nobody's going to give us that opportunity. Nobody's going to tell us how to do it. Nobody's going to give us the game plan. Nobody cares. But we don't really need anybody else to do those things for us, because we have our own persons that know how to do what needs to be done in certain areas. And I'm constantly trying to identify those persons, bring them into the fold so that we can all operate under one umbrella as much as possible. That is not always possible. Brother Craig and I had a I guess we can call it a conversation with a brother this morning who thinks that he has it all together, but he couldn't define some very simple terms. Got pissed off and left the conversation. So it's never going to be everybody, but that's okay because we're not looking for everybody. We don't need everybody, and we don't want everybody. We want those that are ready. We want a critical mass, a critical a cadre, if you will, of people that are ready to be a part of a local team that's moving and operating in multiple spaces. Wide open for us to do, but of course, it's not going to be done just because we want it to. We have to get active. So on that note, that was the last presentation that I would have shown on Saturday if we had not run out of time. So that is how we're going to implement the 6 pillars of empowerment. I'm going to open this thing up for questions. So if anybody has a question for me or Brother Craig, since he's the author and creator of the 6 pillars, now's the time. So any questions?
When is the meeting on Saturday? When is that going to start?
That will not start this Saturday, but the following Saturday. So let me check my schedule real quick, Sister Sylvia, and I will give you an answer real quick. I think it's going to be the first Saturday in March, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So March 1st. Yeah, March 1st.
Okay,
March 1st.
March
Yep, March 1st. Yes, ma'am. So whenever you are able to make it to Houston, let me know. I'll let you know where we are and what we're doing, and you can plug in and we can keep it moving.
Well, I'm near Houston.
Oh, but you're not in Houston, right? Did you move back to Houston?
Yeah, near Houston. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, amen. Well, March 1st, we can be black together. Okay, cool. Thank you, Sylvia. Anybody else have a question for me or Brother Craig about anything?
To money. So the outline that you were showing for the weekly schedule, that starts March 1st or
Yes,
before
sir.
March 1st?
Well, I take it back. It starts before March 1st, but the Saturday activity starts March 1st. So I'll be showing the Bad Faith documentary. Today's Monday, right? Tomorrow's Monday. I'll be showing that on Tuesday. We won't be doing the EEC because I got to get trained. I'll be going to Colorado to get trained with Dr. Tutmose and his team. That will start in March. So most of the activity will start March 1st, which is a week and a half from now, or almost 2 weeks from now. And I think the only thing that I'll be focused on right now is the Bad Faith documentary, because that's online, and the calling, because we still have to connect with those nonprofits that we were trying to get involved with the Holocaust Conference. Cool. Anybody else have a question for me or even a comment for me about the presentation or Brother Craig? Any question or comment going once?
Hey, this is Sam Mallett. I came.
Come on, brother. Yep.
I came and I want to say, hey, that was amazing. What you said was amazing. And when it comes to our community, we actually really need that.
Yeah.
That's one thing I am is a crane instructor. When it comes to that, a lot of people in our community, they don't know that cranes put buildings up. It's not just knocking them down.
Yes,
sir. Put them up too.
Yes, sir.
And that's one thing we can tell the community as well. Like, we can grow with jobs. We can grow with everything you're talking about. And we need us to run it together. And I'm gonna get back to you via email and everything.
Cool. And that's a good point, Brother Samuel. And this is one of the things that's so refreshing to me. When I first met Brother Kerry, of course, he was already doing his agricultural thing of connecting national food growers and food co-ops, connecting them together to create a networking system that we can have control of. He was already doing that. But I learned later that the brother was not only operating in that space, but he's also a civil engineer. So we are most certainly, as we look at predominantly Black spaces to make them what we need them to become, there's going to be the need to construct our own stuff and or fix our own stuff and even plan our own stuff. If we know we have a certain operation that we want to get up and running, and we want that thing to be national or international, we might target a particular city because it might be a coastal city. It might be a city near a major waterway or an airport or a freeway. If we know we need to target particular municipalities that are predominantly black, then a lot of them are going to need the businesses that we bring, which allow us to um, create an economy in that local space, so that we can not only build and construct, but we can continue to move forward. So yeah, brother, you are 100% correct. But that is why it's so important that we support the efforts to constantly bring our people into what we're trying to do, because our people have a lot of skill, a lot of expertise, a lot of understanding, and because most of us have bills, we're currently giving those skills and expertise. Most of us are to an enemy system because we it is what it is. But that doesn't mean it always has to be that way. But of course, it'll never be different if we don't make it different. So good point, Brother Samuel. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else before I close this thing out? Any question or comment for Brother Craig or I? Brother Craig, you just unmuted. You got something?
Yeah, Tamani, I just sent to your text
Mm-hmm.
the video from the other day. I
Oh,
want you
okay.
to show that
Okay. All right.
that to them.
You can show it right now?
It's the last thing that I just sent to you.
All right, give me a second. So while I'm setting this up, if you guys have a question, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I'm gonna go ahead and set this thing up real quick. Oh, wait,
Hi, can y'all hear me? Okay,
yes,
yeah.
ma'am.
I have a question. So is the ultimate goal to become sovereign within the United States, or just to become more unified and just to be stronger in the community? You know what I mean? I can't see.
Yeah, Brother Craig?
What's the question that she asked?
She said, is the ultimate goal to become sovereign within the United States, or to just be would you say a stronger community, Kim? What was that last part about the community? Kim, you still there? So I think that's what you said, Craig. Is the ultimate goal to become sovereign in the U.S. or to just have better communities? I'm pretty sure that's what she asked.
So
I know.
So Kim, Kim, I'm gonna help you out a lot by asking you to define what does sovereign mean.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay. So I'm following a lady, Michi X, and she's in a community, the Malachian group or something like that. So I'm not 100% sure what it entails, but I know it's kind of like your own community, have your own social security numbers, identification numbers, those things, your own communities. I know it requires a lot to build that, so I was just wondering, is that the ultimate goal, or is just to be more stronger in the community? To try to break away from the white supremacy as much as possible.
So that's why I asked that question, because one of the sad realities about where we're at right now in 2025, you have a lot of people out here who are liberation entertainers, who are charlatans, who are grifters, and they're selling our people on so much foolishness. There's no such thing as sovereignty in this game that we're in. There's no such thing. When you talk about sovereignty, you would have to have your own currency, your own infrastructure, your own land. What is going on is people selling African descendants in America on just a lot of Santa Claus type concepts that do not exist. Even if you look at the so-called Native Americans, the so-called red man, they are not even sovereign, even though they're on reservations. Everything that they do still has to be approved by the United States government. Okay? Even when you have a so-called sovereign nation, Libya, the United States took out Muammar Gaddafi, disrupted their currency. You understand? So we have to be very clear as to what is achievable and attainable and what is not. So there is no such thing as sovereignty. And for the people who push this foolishness of sovereignty, being a national, just all of this foolishness, it's just a waste of time. It's just a waste of time. The only thing that you can do inside of the United States is to take control of spaces where there are majority melanated people, where you have grassroots people who can become hybrids, meaning that they can navigate between the public and private sector and take over villages, towns, small cities, and mid-sized cities. That's it. You can gain leverage in large cities, but you're not going to control large cities because a large city is just like a state. Okay. When you take control of your local land masses where you have majority presence, you now will be able to learn the functionality of how the water department works, how the sanitation department works. These things are very complex, right? So we talk a lot about the idealistic aspect of running a country when we don't even know how to run a neighborhood. We don't even know how to run a community. We don't know how to run a city. We don't know how to run a parish or a county. So if you don't know how to do that, then you can't run a state, and you damn sure can't run a country. So when we're talking sovereignty, you're talking about complete control of currency, the entire system, and that is not going to happen. The people who are pushing that narrative being inside of America, but not wanting to be accountable and responsible. So under the American corporate rules of engagement, and it's foolishness, to be honest with you. And so,
right,
no.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
no, that
so
was just one of my questions. I'm fully aware of all of that, and I just wanted to make sure that I know y'all hadn't mentioned that word. I just wanted to make sure that's not.
Oh yeah. Oh no.
Yeah,
No.
and I just want to interject to say that was one of the first videos I watched. I forgot where they were, but it was a group of Black people who had bought some land, and y'all broke it down about the water and the sewage and all of those things. So I just was asking to make sure y'all want to come to
no, there's no liberation in entertainment. And that's why, and I'm glad you asked that question, because that's why I wanted Tamani to show the video he's about to show.
Okay.
Okay, so
Thank you.
Thank you for asking, Kim. Can I get two people to confirm that they can see the screen?
So yeah, I just want to make sure.
I can see it.
Cool. All right, here we go.
I was leading Doge and had the government in a chokehold, baby. America was in a Great Depression in the 1930s, so Frank was pumping billions into relief programs. But for Black Americans, no federal jobs, no housing aid, no money for businesses. The federal government had the power to help, but refused to do so for Black folks. That's when a secret force rose inside Washington. No elections, no official power, but they flipped the system from within. They were called the Black Cabinet. All Black invisible hand that had influence over the White House. And they were about to rewrite history. I'm telling our stories this much through the lens of AI. At the center of this movement, Miss Mary, a former sharecropper's daughter turned political mastermind. She didn't wait for power, she built her own. In fact, she led the Division of Negro Affairs in the National Youth Administration and was the first woman to head a federal agency. But she also built a secret network of Black economists, lawyers, and policymakers, placing them inside of key federal agencies. Robert, a mastermind of labor policy. William, who shaped civil rights law. And Eugene, an economic strategy. Miss Mary and the Black Cabinet pushed Frank hard, baby, for a federal anti-lynching law. And so Frank vowed no forgotten races. But when it came time to act, Southern Democrats blocked it. They blocked the bill. They threatened to cancel any program that helped Black communities, and they warned that helping Black Americans could cost Frank Frank his presidency. But Frank folded and refused to sign the anti-lynching bill. So the Black cabinet decided to find another way to force change and leave Congress out of it. So in 1939, while the war was looming and America was hiring, the Black cabinet orchestrated access to military money. Miss Mary helped launch a civilian pilot training program at 6 HBCUs, fully funded, and she personally visited Tuskegee with Frank's wife Eleanor and got in a plane with the Black aviator, proving, baby, that Black pilots were just as skilled. This led to the creation of the Tuskegee Airmen, the first Black military pilot. Meanwhile, the Black cabinet forced Frank to sign an executive order that would make it illegal to discriminate if you had a federal contract. And because of that, federal dollars flowed into Black businesses, and thousands of Black Americans secured jobs in shipbuilding, aircraft manufacturing, and the defense industry. The Black cabinet never held office, but they secured millions for HBCUs, forced federal hiring reforms, and paved the way for military desegregation. Today we talk about billionaires shaping policy behind closed doors, but the Black cabinet did it first and did it for all of America, especially us. And here's Mary McCoy Bethune and the Black cabinet with FDR in real life. If you want to learn how to tell your own stories using artificial intelligence, enroll at School at Night.
So Sister Kim, and for everybody, when that group, the Black cabinet, came together, that's a group of hybrids. That's a group of hybrids. And they were operating at the federal level. That's not sustainable because at the end of the day, the only thing that you can control is at the local level. And so, but they needed to do it because we didn't have any real federal protections. So I don't knock what they did, because what they did was very important. As a matter of fact, everything that Trump just signed with his executive order last week before last, that was not only knocking out the situation from 1964 with Lyndon Johnson on his executive order dealing with affirmative action, it was also, completely annihilating what FDR did in the 1940s. Okay. And then, of course, the next president who came, Truman came up with his own measure. So all of this was done by executive order. It wasn't law, but it was proclamation, executive order that laid the foundation. Those things were good, but the only way that you can really make them work is if you have control of cities, parishes, and counties. And there was a movement between 1864 and 1944 to create Black townships. And then, of course, once Negroes were able to get jobs in California, Chicago, the East Coast, they abandoned the South. But I understand that because we still had to contend with the Klan and being lynched and murdered. You feel me? So our only solution is to take over the spaces where the majority of our people are at. And the good thing is, in those spaces, the majority of people don't vote. So if you now have those type of Black cabinets, if you will, hybrids, mobilizing, organizing, educating, and activating, with also an economic agenda to now mobilize those people who do not vote in those cities and parishes in Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi. You can now take over those spaces. And this is a real deal game plan that's not fictional. So I wanted y'all to see that video because that's already happened on that end. And we've already had the creation of over 200 Black townships which about 40 of them still exist. The majority of them are in Oklahoma, but in Texas, you had towns like Africa, Texas. Okay, I mean, our people did more with less between 1864 and 1944 than we do collectively with $2 trillion now. You feel me? And so when Tamani and I connected, Tamani was looking to do things similar to the Black Cabinet. I was working on the micro level. But see, I saw that Tamani was legit in his dedication. That's how we joined up. And so I was willing to work with him to show him that, hey, you're not going to build a facility from the roof down. And he came to understand that. And so now he's just recalibrated, because there will be a time where we need the macro. But right now we got to do the micro. And that's where we're at.
You good? You good, Kim?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah. So
thank you. Thank you. Really. Thank you.
So I want to show you guys one thing real quick, and then I'm assuming no one else has any questions. Just real quick, Brother Craig is over Paid Louisiana. I'm over Paid Texas. Our jobs, respectively, is to ensure that that our people are winning as many local elections as possible in the spaces where we live. All of these blue dots are predominantly Black spaces in Texas. There are a lot. So we have some serious work to do. But the results of what, and I'm sorry, that's a part of the souvenir booklet. So if you have a copy, amen. If you don't have a copy, you need to get one. So let me know. So there's a lot of work to be done, but there's a tremendous amount of good that can come out of that work. And we have to keep in mind, and that's why I showed those videos that I showed in the beginning. Our people are not in a good spot. They are not playing games with us with Project 2025. They do train their own to run cities. There's no reason we can't do the same thing, but the same way they have leadership teams to do that, we got to understand that we got to have our own leadership teams. And the team members exist. They simply may not know one another because they haven't been introduced yet. And that's why this work is so important. So,
and Tamani, so they'll know, when you did the presentation a few weeks ago and you introduced Texas Boy State.
Yeah, go ahead.
Tamani didn't know
I did not.
that this was nationwide. So he went, I told him, I said, just go do your research.
Yeah.
They do this in every state. So I'm glad that you amended the presentation to include, because our people don't understand. And I think, having retired from corporate America 30 years ago to start doing this work, the most frustrating thing for me, having been in corporate America at very high levels since I was a graduate from Xavier University, to give up my corporate career to start doing this work, the most frustrating thing is to constantly be bombarded with idealism, romanticism, all of this foolishness, with people who have no understanding, literally no understanding of the sophisticated, evil, diabolical nature of how these white folks works and how we gotta maneuver. And when I left corporate, I didn't totally understand. So I had a 5-year internship with political icons in Shreveport who actually changed the form of government. And when I saw that they messed over me, and these were people who, one was my teacher, City Councilman Joe Shine, Councilman, former attorney, former judge, Huey Huckabee, who filed the lawsuit to change the form of government. When I saw that these people were not serious, that's when I broke away and started my own thing 24 years ago. But I went through a baptism, trust me, that no other person in this country has gone through, with a grassroots revolutionary mindset, with a education from a top HBCU, with corporate experience, and then getting a baptism for 5 years. And so I have not wavered, not one iota. So when I met Tamani, I was able to infuse and give him what I've learned. And he's now seeing what he has to do in Houston to gain political leverage to then help take over various land masses. And most of those dots, by the way, are in East Texas. Most of those dots are in the eastern portion of Texas, and which is the beautiful thing about Louisiana and Texas geography, because we're right next door. Okay. And so between Dallas, Houston, 2 top 10 cities in America, there's enough African American population where we can leverage millions and billions of dollars for our economic coffers to then take over the majority land masses in Texas and in Louisiana, starting in Shreveport. And that's how 50 Cent has now matriculated to Louisiana. That's why Meta is building the largest data center in Northeast Louisiana. Everything is ripe for the taking. And lastly, in that video, and I just saw that video a few days ago, and Tamani, that Tamani just played. One of my friend girls in South Louisiana sent me that video, and she said, "Craig, this sounds like your plan." She wasn't getting it at first, but when she saw the video, she put a light bulb, because the other part of the video, if you missed it, Mary McLeod Bethune worked her game plan through what institution? What institution did she work her game plan through, Kim? Or anybody?
We were talking.
Huh?
I didn't hear her game plan that she was working through.
She worked it through HBCUs.
Okay.
Remember, she went to Tuskegee, but she went to 5 other schools. Follow me now. I told Tamani when we got together, there's only one institution in the world that can produce the solutions to all of the issues that plague our people in America, South America, Central America, the Caribbean, and Africa. And that's the HBCUs. But Kim, they were not designed for that purpose. But you have an abundance of alumni who are successful with skills, public and private sector. You have an abundance of retired faculty who got skills. You have current faculty and you have current students with major skills and expertise and talent. They have never been mobilized, organized to produce solutions. So when I saw the video, I was like, how in the hell could Mary McLeod Bethune them figure this out in the goddamn 40s? And we're supposed to be smarter now, but we're goddamn dumber now. Okay? And so everything that I'm focused on with the game plan for pay is centered around doing this
through HBCUs. And the beautiful thing I love about Trump, I love it. He's forcing Negroes to finally get off their punk asses because they're going to have to come back home. And even my ex-girlfriend sent me a message today, goddammit. Can you recommend some Black liberation websites? I need to learn. So people are awakening to what Tamani and I have been talking about myself for over right now 40 years. So, but it's great. And I'm glad that you guys are on board for this journey because a lot of work has been done over the past 3 decades by me, over the past 7 years, my brother Tamani, and I'm just here to do my part.
Amen. So we're gonna let Brother LeVar close it out with this last question, and then we'll let everybody get to some TV watching and chilling. Brother LeVar?
We don't mind. We enjoyed the lesson. We need to know the lesson so we can continue to go forward.
Amen, brother. Amen. LeVar, you still there?
Yeah, brother. I'm here. You was a little choppy there, Craig. I got the gist of it for the most part. I don't know if it was just me. I'll just say that. I got a few things to say. I'm gonna try to keep it short. I shared, the 6 pillars, and what you had printed up, Craig, and interesting to most people, there was a little conflicted with the Black and Negro part, and it was just interesting.
Hey, LeVar, I'll say this. They better get their minds right. They better get their minds right because if you believe that melanation makes you Black, you better know there's about 30% of these Negroes who are rolling as Trumplicans, and they not Black, brother. So these Negroes better get their mind right.
They melanated.
So they know the difference.
They melanated.
Yeah, they just melanated.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I think it was more so that I sent it to him without, I guess, explaining to him, and it was kind of, I think a couple of them was thinking that sovereignty type part, because that right there confused a lot of people to Black, and they get into the Black dictionary and all the stuff. It's like, no, it's not that deep,
Yeah, and that's why I told you, LeVar, set up a call, brother. We get those brothers and sisters on the Zoom call with Brother Craig whenever they're ready, and we can clarify this real quick. And I tell you, LeVar, that's why, like Craig mentioned, Fort Worth, Texas. You right there in Mesquite, predominantly Black municipality. So we need you to understand because you got to get your own squad ready to roll because we got to take over Mesquite.
Absolutely.
And LeVar, let me give you a prime example. Hey, LeVar, let me give you a prime example.
Angelico?
You take. You take
real bad, Craig.
Oh, I'm breaking up.
Not on my end. Must be your end, LeVar.
Not on my end.
Yeah.
It's not on my end either. Okay.
Okay. I don't know what's going on internet over here, but I'll try to follow you best I can, brother.
Okay. So LeVar, let me give you a prime example in your area. So my cousin was Craig Watkins. Okay. Who was y'all's district attorney, right? You remember Craig? Can you hear me, LeVar?
He muted. Angelico, do you know who that is?
Yes, yes, I do. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, Angelico.
Recently passed. Yes, sir.
Exactly. Okay, so that's my cousin. All right. His great great grandfather and my great great grandmother were siblings. All right. Nothing but love for the brother. We didn't meet until 2011. But you do know that my cousin was not grassroots, right?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he wasn't. He wasn't grassroots. He was a part of the Negro political establishment of Dallas, because my family, the Brashears, are basically political royalty in Dallas County. Well, I'm cut from, although that's a part of one of my branches, I'm the gangster part. I don't do the bourgeoisie thing. And it was unfortunate because, he met an untimely exit from his position, although he was doing some great work, because, he got about 30 brothers off of death row. Okay? Now, he didn't know when he first got elected that his great grandfather, Richard Johnson, was wrongfully convicted in the 1920s for raping and murdering a white female. He didn't know that. Fast forward, he gets elected as DA. He now starts to get people off death row. He didn't even know why. Our cousin, one L. Simmons, and she's right over in Mesquite by LeVar. She's our genealogist. She did the research. I said all that to say, although he wasn't grassroots by his political practices, with the exception of getting those brothers off of death row, which was major, okay? The spirit, the grassroots spirit was in him that propelled him and compelled him to do something that no other DA in the history of this country or the history of this world has ever done. And that is to get people who are wrongfully convicted off of death row. Well, if you're going to do that, you got to know that white folks are going to come after you. And he wasn't prepared because he wasn't full, real deal grassroots. Loved him, but that's where a lot of his stress and pressure came on him. And, you know, he got caught up with a lot of indiscretions. But I wanted to tell you that because that's what we're doing, straight up corporate, grassroots, empowerment, advocacy, lobbying, revolutionaries. That's what we're doing.
Amen. Brother LeVar, was that your last question?
Yeah, I'm trying to follow as best I can. I heard for the most part.
Yeah, don't
but
worry about it. It's recorded, so I'll just give you access to the recording because it's very clear on our end. So yeah, don't worry about it. You'll get the recording this evening.
Yeah, but the Wi-Fi and the internet, I don't know, it's acting crazy in my area. But I will say too is the way you're presenting it. Could that be like to teach other brothers and sisters on how to present it in those ways and with those flash drives and things of that nature? I think that can be great because that's something I want to learn and I want to get to a spot. I don't have I guess a church or a Shrine of Black Madonna down here, and I'm trying to get in these certain churches and certain people to where I can present it in that way. But then too, I want to be well versed in when I explain it. So I think that could be a good training for me. I would say for me, I don't know about anybody else. I'll say everybody else, but I would just say for me for starters.
Is that a question for me or for Craig?
You got us 100%. For you and me, Tamani.
Okay, yeah, and Brother LeVar, I'm no longer active in the Shrine. It's not the same church I joined 20 plus years ago. I still have relationships. Like I've known Brother Nantambu. I just turned 54 in October, and I met him when I was 22. So we've been connected for a very long time, and the relationships, it's like going in the military. The relationships that you build, like in any organization, I'll be connected to this brother until he goes hang out with the ancestors. So I'm solid with the people, but I'm no longer an active member of the church because it's not the same church. So I'm saying that to say that the tribes, the teams, the group that we need to build, LeVar, we're building this thing from the ground up. So as Brother Craig said, whatever you need us to do to help train, mobilize, organize, or whatever, just let us know. And that's why I said whenever you get those brothers on the phone and they want to have a conversation about the 6 pillars, the word black, or whatever, as I said, Brother Craig is always willing to help those who are willing to listen. But if they're not willing to listen, then we don't do nigga stuff for too long. He don't have the patience for that. So FYI. Okay.
Honey and Brother Craig, I would say that the best that LeVar can do, because I know he said he don't have a Shrine of Black Madonna there. Well, the Shrine of Black Madonna is in you.
Oh, amen.
You take what you've learned and take it to the people.
Good answer,
and that's what you have to do.
Good answer. Yeah.
So you just have to find a few more like you.
There you go.
Like minds like spirit, and then build it from within.
There you go.
And you know the
There you
beauty of
go.
that now, Tambu, is that he already has that. He has a sure enough squad of people that roll with him. Brother Angelico is here. He was at the conference because of LeVar. Brother True is here. He was at the conference because of LeVar. There's a brother named, is it Melvin? It's Melvin, right? LeVar?
Yeah, Melvin, Bruce
Yeah.
Lee. So yeah, I'm connected with a lot of people
Yeah.
all over the
Yeah,
world and
he has a good
diaspora.
squad. He has a
But
good
in
squad.
Mesquite specifically, there's not a lot of people in Mesquite in my city. So it's spread out. So I'm just trying to connect more people in Mesquite. And then I'm being a little strategic. I'm in the Christian spaces, I'm in the country spaces, and I'm like trying to maneuver. But I'm gonna say in the Christian spaces, it can get a little frustrating. Like, man, these people really they got a long way to go. So I'm working the best way I can.
Yeah, and Var, one of the easiest ways to do that is, and that's something that Brother Craig and I used to do every other Saturday, and what I'll be doing every other Saturday, movies and documentaries. Brother, if you show a certain movie and or documentary, and then you have a conversation about you can pull people out of those kinds of conversations, because you will know based on their thinking, their answers, their questions, and people are looking, especially now with Trump. People are looking, and they're going to want to plug into something. And that's why showing those kinds of movies and our documentaries could really be an eye opener and an opportunity to recruit people and have them come into something that you're currently working on. And again, the fact that Mesquite is predominantly Black, brother, you gotta find a team, because we gotta have that city as one of ours.
Yeah.
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 And
me. And LeVar, you got me 100%, brother.
Yeah. Angelico?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, as a part of LeVar, I'm part of his team, and I go out to Mesquite and help him whenever we get a chance. So I'm willing to go out there and make a difference, because that's something we do with our group anyway, boots on the ground. So just gotta go out there and talk or whatever we need to do to get it going. So
that's
I'm
right.
here.
Yeah. So
hey,
LeVar,
brother Nico. Hey, brother Nico, don't forget to send me that information for March.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll do. We'll do. We'll do that.
Coming over there to support y'all in Fort Worth in the hat.
Yeah, and just know, brother Angelico, brother True, brother LeVar, just know that any connection that I have, if I'm connected to brother Craig, then you guys are connected to brother Craig. If I'm connected to brother Kerry, you guys are connected to brother Kerry. So any connection that I have, you guys now have as a result. I do not consider myself to be a spiritual person at all, but one of my spiritual mentors is well, his birth name is Brian. I call him Nantambu because I don't be going backwards. His African name is Nantambu. I'm connected with brothers like him, powerful people. So any network that I have, you brothers now have, and I suspect that it's going to be the same thing. LeVar, your network, Angelico, Brother True, your networks will become ours, and that's how we build this thing. The teams and the tribes that we need, they exist, but they don't know each other yet, and that's why it's so important that we continue to work together on the grassroots level so that we can connect and build these teams. So anyway, I got it. This thing is already longer than I intended for it to be. I'm glad you guys are here. We're going to continue to build and do, because they're continuing to build and do, and we really don't have a choice. So on that note, Brother Rayford, you got something real quick?
I was just going to ask the question: is it possible that the election of President Trump for this country could help make Black folks Black again?
You didn't just hear Brother Craig say he was happy? Go ahead,
Yeah,
Craig.
I mean, I look for that at the start of this whole thing to say, yeah, because y'all won't turn it loose and start building for your own communities. We've been building for white communities since we got this thing called civil rights, which was bullshit. And we fighting for DEI, as many years as I've told you, as many years as I've been active on trying to help Black folks get an understanding and start building an economic base for Black people, and they refuse and say we're gonna go build white people, and they fight for DEI. It's like, well, we never built communities with DEI. We never built Black communities with DEI. We built them before without it, and so I listened to what my fellow boomers talk about today and their gains. They gained access to restaurants. They gained access to stores, and we closed ours. So all these things that we're making claim to that were good were actually many of them were bad and bad for us. But I'm going to look forward to this opportunity under Trump to try to help get ours economically. And that's kind of where I sit on this thing.
Brother Craig, you want to address that real quick?
Will say this, and you're correct, but here's what, and I've been cautioning individuals to be very, very clear. The 13th Amendment was policy legislation. That's affirmative action. 14th Amendment, and neither one of these were full scale, 100% for us. 14th Amendment, 15th Amendment, the 1866 Civil Rights Act, the 1870 Civil Rights Act. All of these were affirmative action. I'm really wanting people to be cautious about saying that the concept of affirmative action, DEI, has not helped. Now, it has truly benefited white folk, white females, and other entities. And Barack Obama definitely expanded that to the LGBTQRS group. So you're correct there. But I will tell you that through the affirmative action legislation of 1964, civil rights legislation, we were able to gain access to certain key positions that otherwise would not have happened. And although it was not on a major level, it was beneficial. So you got to have multiple things working simultaneously. So you got to have the collective economics, but you got to have individuals who can be spooks, who sat by the door, who can perceptively be allowed in those spaces, although it will only be a few, so that those individuals can now leverage information back into our community and have some of these opportunities at the local level. And so the only reason it has not totally worked is because we don't control the local spaces where the majority of melanated people are at. And I give you the example, Brother Raphael, of Ferguson, when Mike Brown was murdered, right? When he was murdered, I don't know if you remember the numbers, but they were 75 to 78% melanated city, Ferguson, Missouri. White mayor, all white city council, all white police. Why was that, Brother Raphael? Because Negroes do not want to get involved in their own local politics.
Absolutely.
And what did the last poet say, Craig?
I would say.
What did the last poet say about that statement you just made?
Because niggas are scared of revolution.
Word.
And so follow me now, Brother Raphael. So the affirmative action was on the books, but it could not be realized in Ferguson because Negroes wouldn't go vote. They wouldn't mobilize, organize, educate themselves. Okay, so now after Mike Brown, and you got all this international coverage.
Come on.
Surely they're gonna turn out at 80 goddamn percent, right?
Surely.
Goddamn 19% the next goddamn year.
Yeah.
The Negro,
we've had black mayors here. We've had,
we've had melanated mayors, not black mayors.
Okay.
It matters. It matters, Rayful. It matters, brother.
Yeah, I get you.
It matters.
Our spooks don't spook for us is the bottom line. With the people that we've allowed to be there, the people, they vote based upon dance philosophy and not economic philosophy. So anyway.
Where you in, Raphael?
He's in Houston.
I'm just in Houston area, just south of the city itself. And I create solutions, technology solutions, and try to make them available to governments or anybody, other enterprise that wants to buy them. And so we understand the economics being in the room, not just what we're after, but we're looking at how they treat other Black folks. Like when the room is 65, 70% Black and the white folks get up there, and even the Black folks get up there say, we can't find them. It's like, damn, what you want us to do, knock you over?
But Raphael, I know you probably think this is splitting hairs, but you'll learn that if we keep on calling individuals who play for the Dallas Cowboys Houston Texans and keep on having them in our huddle, we're going to keep losing. Because what I'll say to you is the melanation doesn't make them Black. The difficulty for us, though, is that a lot of grassroots people have given up on education and high skills training. And so someone like you, it's obvious you're a hybrid, but you're a rare commodity. Everybody on this phone are hybrids. Rare commodities, brother. Because most of these people who look like us, who got education and skills, they are straight Negroes now. I'm just letting you know now. And that's what you're really talking about. So you have to be very clear of understanding that really none of these people have been elected for mayor and city council throughout this country. None of these people really have been Black. They've just been melanated Negroes. And that's what has killed us because we don't know the difference. And so what has happened, the people have, the grassroots people, the masses, they don't go vote because they become more apathetic, more pessimistic, more cynical. You see? So who our competition is when we're running for office is not another candidate. We're competing against ignorance, apathy, pessimism, cynicism, laziness, insanity. That's our competition because that is reflective of the fact that less than 20%, like in 2023, what was the number to money? In the primary, it was less than 20% that went to vote. And then in the runoff, what was about 25?
Coming here in Houston?
30%? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like 28, 29, I think.
I'm sorry, brother. It was even lower than that. It was 8%.
Okay.
Most recently?
So
I'm sorry, go ahead, Craig.
In 2023. So
2023. Oh.
All I'm saying is, Raphael, that's the reality. And I know that we've used this term Black for so long that we don't understand the significance of it. But we better understand the significance of it. Because if you keep on calling these people who do not represent your interests Black, just because they're melanated like you're gonna keep getting deceived.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got to be like Chris Rock, love Black people, hate niggas, two different groups. So on that note, we're gonna close this thing out because God knows we've gone over. You guys will most certainly hear from me because we have a lot of work to do, but there's so much opportunity wide open for us to go get, but we have to do just that, go get it. And if anybody can do it, most certainly Black people can. So again, thank you guys for being here. I really, really, really appreciate it. Always remember two things. No one can do everything, but if everyone does something, everything will get done. And absolutely, always remember that nothing is more sacred. Not me, not you, your kids, my kids, your family, my family. Nothing is more sacred than the empowerment and freedom of Black people. Because if Black people aren't empowered and Black people aren't free, you're not going to be free. I'm not going to be free. Our kids, our families, our loved ones won't be free. But if we put the group first, if we put the tribe first, if we build power for the group, build power for the tribe, for the nation, then the nation will protect the people, and then we can all boogie forward and do what we need to do. So thank you guys again. I will most certainly be in touch. Y'all have a good evening. God bless. Peace. Bye.